Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. We say good evening, we say good morning. We can also say good night. We can also say good night depending on the place where you are participating from. On behalf of our Secretary General, Dr. Hemojin Sengemana, we want to take this opportunity to thank you for joining in this webinar session that we are having, the 64th session of the ASO monthly webinar series. For those who have been with us all this time since 2020 April, we have been running our monthly webinar series. We are on the 64th session, and we thank you that you have always been with us. Apologies from the Secretary General. He was not able to host you today, but I'm doing that on his behalf. As you know, most of the African countries, organizations are in South Africa for the SADC meetings that are taking place. And you recall that we want to see the integration of the continent based on the African continental free trade area having common regulatory framework. So the participation of ARSO and the presentations by the Secretary General to guide these discussions is key. But we have his blessings that we host the 64th session of the ASO monthly webinar on food safety management systems and the culinary arts, gastronomy, and food service industry. Our topic today is the potential of the African culinary arts, gastronomy, and food service industry in sustaining the African economies and the need for quality infrastructure and food safety management systems and support. My name is Philip Okungu, the Documentation and Information Manager. On our webinar session today, sorry for that. On our webinar session today, I'm glad to introduce our panelists. As you can see, the host on whose behalf I'm representing ARSO, Dr. Hemojin Sengemana. Then the panelists of today, we have Ms. Nadine Umutoni, the project coordinator, ASO, and then Paki JC coordinator. We have Professor George Aokabong, Associate Professor, Department of Food Science, Nutrition and Technology, University of Nairobi, Kenya. We are also happy to note that Professor Bong is the ASO Technical Harmonization Committee 88, the one that handles standardization issues in the African culinary arts and gastronomy. Then we are lucky also and blessed to have Ms. Lena Mogere, African gastronomy experts, Boma International Hospitality College. And you will see also, as highlighted later on, Ms. Lena is also having some other roles there. Then we shall also have Mr. Hakim Fumbiro, Manager Certification Department and Head of Food and Agriculture, Standards Division, Uganda National Bureau of Standards, and also former chair of the FAO WHO Codex Coordinating Committee for Africa. These are our panelists of today. We will just briefly highlight what is going on. As we have indicated that Professor Bong is the chair of the ASO PC 88, which deals with the standardization on the African culinary arts. So we are glad that we are holding this webinar when ASO has already started this the standardization activities. This is driven by the realization that the global gastronomy market has grown remarkably on the issues of tourist demand and the issues of need for food safety management systems. We will learn more about gastronomy, what is it, the culinary arts and all that. And also this is aligned to the FAO and WHO strategies and guidelines that are also highlighted here, because these ones also handle the issues of food management, food safety management, And prominently, you see the Codex Alimentarian Standards and Common Regulatory Guidelines playing a key role here. These trends and the emerging food management systems continue to attract the attention of policymakers because it is not only the regulators themselves. And you see, we have the World Food Safety Day on June 7th, and the World Food Day, the one on the October 16th, and mostly on raising awareness of the need for quality food and safety within the food industry. And these ones need to comply with global food standards, establishing effective regulatory food control systems. And you realize that on the sides of everything, the people who should be handling these food systems should also be trained. You recall that 2024, the African Union theme was Train an African Fit for the 21st Century Challenges. And the food industry is becoming a cornerstone for African economies in the 21st century. And here we need relevant education systems for the graduates of the culinary arts and gastronomy. And we are glad that we have Lena Mugere in the house, because the culinary arts and gastronomy industry and food is becoming part of the African education systems. So we train Africans fit for the 21st century education systems. You will see we put the theme in context, and you will see the food industry itself having so many activities going on and places. The restaurants, the fast food, the fast casual style cafeterias, schools, hospitals, we have food trucks, stands, catering. All of these are opportunity to serve the industry, but food management is very much key in this. And that's why we have ISO 2020-2000 certification under the HACCP, the Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Point Systems. So we realize the need that we need to support the food industry with harmonized standards for development of the standards within the hospitality industry, food presentation, hygiene, and safety. And this is why the issues of food management system comes in. And as have already highlighted, you realize that we have so many educational colleges coming up. I've highlighted the Boma Hotel College, I've highlighted the IHTI, and then the Utalii College in Nairobi, Kenya. But these ones, they are replicated outside there, and then the industry as it is. So we need qualified personnel to handle this and understand this. At the end of the day, consumers need safe and quality food. And then as we do our tourism industry, and the tourism, in this case, gastronomy, you realize that specifically they are enjoying the African food, but the African food should be safe and of good quality. And that is why these trainings are very important. You realize also that within these systems, the industry, as it grows, it attracts the challenges and the foodborne diseases. And we talk of the issue of the foodborne diseases that are prevalent in most of the places where we handle food. And that is why we now need to have safety standards, food management certification systems, and at the same time to train our youth, to train our food handlers and the issues of the chefs, the cooks, how to handle food, so that at the end of the day, this problem of foodborne diseases that we see in Africa can also be dealt with. And these are some of the issues that we are going to see being addressed in this webinar session. We've just highlighted the policy initiatives, the June 7th and the 16th October, as a way of reaching out and spreading the gospel of the need for food safety management systems and the need for qualified personnel to handle the food industry. So it is a shared responsibility, as FAO is telling us that it is our own shared responsibility in this case. Then we highlight the importance of the FAO in terms of the guidelines that it has, the strategies that it has come up with, and you can see since 2022 to 2031, 2026, 2031, 2020, 2030, and the cornerstone in this case, the issues of the Codex Alimentarians, which is also having units here in Africa. And we are glad that Mr. Hakim Fumbiro, who is former coordinator of the African Codex system, is also here with us. And you can see that the World Health Organization completely is talking about One Health Joint Plant Action 2022-2026, which should be replicated in these strategies that has been set, and also highlighting the centrality of the Codex standards in the food management systems. We are glad that for Africa, Africa is also continuing in the addressing the food and food security systems in Africa, way back from Monrovia, and then the issues of the CADAP, the Comprehensive African Agricultural Development Program 2014, which holistically is addressing the issues of food safety, the curriculum and the capacity building, and what needs to be done in terms of common regulatory framework. As late as January 2025, the African Leaders African Union declares made a Kampala CADAP declaration, which also has a framework of 2026-2035 year of implementation. And this one also still touches on the food quality systems and the capacity building. Already we have seen what is happening in the regulatory framework under the ISO certification 2022,000. And you can see that the standard provides practical tools for businesses to promote food safety, quality, and efficiency across the entire food industry from farm to fork. And this is where also the training in the culinary systems is important, because who are handling this from farm to fork. When it reaches the fork, it is within the hotels. So we really need trained personnel in that system. Then already also the third-party certifications schemes which are coming up, and these are also important in the regulatory framework that we are having. So we will hear this also from the presentations that are coming forth. The HACCP, those who are in the food industry understand HACCP. It is a system. It is a system that also helps in the management of the food quality systems within the industry and the food industry. So it deals with a lot of spectrum. The issue of the disciplinary approach, which includes appropriate expertise in agronomy, veterinary health, production, microbiology, medicine, the food technology, and all that. And the 7 key HACCP principles. And I think these ones are a matter where the colleges also come in and maybe should be teaching the students on this. We have our own ASO initiatives, and we have the Ms. Nadine who will be talking about the ASO initiatives. Top of it is the ASO TC 88 on African culinary arts, gastronomy, and the issues of food. And then what ASO initiated in the development of African food safety management certification schemes. So this is generally what we expect to see. But the bottom line is this one, because teach an African who is fit for the 21st century challenges. The tourism industry is growing. We cannot leave our students behind. And that's why we want to congratulate the hospitality colleges that have come up and are very strong. The Boma International Hospitality College is very strong. We have the Utalii College, which has been there ever since. Then we also have some like the International Hotel and Tourism Institute. We have many colleges, but the bottom line is, are they meeting the expectations of the growing food industry in Africa. So we have one of our panelists, Ms. Lena, who will also give us a little bit of these are the causes that we have. And you can see in Kenya, we have the recognition in Kenya in terms of government policy is high. We have our former minister presiding over the graduation ceremony in one of the Boma International Hotel College graduation ceremony, and you can see the students are well taken care of here. The gastronomy issues we will get to understand more, and it is interesting that this webinar gives us the opportunity to understand the importance of our chefs. And you will see that even their categorization, like the way we have managing director in our professions. So this one also comes out very strongly, and this is what is being encouraged. And we want to see that the industry attracts the best in Africa and also in the world, so that we can compete in the world and also within Africa. Our main objective for today's webinar is to give us the opportunity and a platform to exchange ideas and to exchange discussions on the benefit of food safety management systems and the need also of aligning ourselves with the common regulatory frameworks that we have, like ISO 2022,000, HACCP, and the Codex Alimentarian Standards, and also to build our capacities that the Boma Hotel College are already providing for us, and the challenges that come with it. So I want to stop there and introduce now or get into the plenary session, as I thank you very much on behalf of our Secretary General for joining us in this 64th ASO webinar session. And from here now, I want to hand over to our able moderator, one of my colleagues, Mr. Dan Githome, who will take us through the rest of the sessions that we have until finally we reach the other session. Thank you very much and welcome. Mr. Dan, you can take over. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Philip. Just to inform you that you can engage with us. Now we are going into the panel discussions where we will have question and answer sessions after their presentation. So we can utilize the chat box. And if we have enough time, we'll be able to just allow 1 or 2 questions at the end of this webinar. We also like to inform you that we are providing simultaneous interpretation service for this specific session. And therefore, at the bottom of your screens, you'll be able to see a globe sign. Select English or French language. My name once again is Dan Githome from the ASO Central Secretariat, and I will be your moderator during this session. Our host, as previously introduced by the Secretary, by Mr. Philip Okungu, is Dr. Hamojin Sengimana, who was not available for this meeting, but he's been our Secretary General since 2012, and he holds a PhD in analytical chemistry from South Africa, and also a postdoctoral degree from Botswana. I would like to move to the next presenter, and Nadine Umutoni, who is our Monitoring and Evaluation Officer at the ASO Central Secretariat, and also sums up as the POCI coordinator. She's been in ASO since 2016 and has been coordinating standards harmonization and conformity assessment projects. She has a degree. She's well educated and well versed in issues of quality infrastructure. She also sums up as a quality champion. She's contributed to drafting of several continental standardization and conformity assessment policy documents, and also at the PACI level, which guides the implementation of ASO's mandate and resource mobilization. She has contributed significantly to the achievement of PACI's objectives, such as periodic reviews of the status of the quality infrastructure, technical barriers to trade, and SPS measures in Africa. The African Quality Policy, Made in Africa qualification criteria, and the Cassava Value Chain Implementation Joint Project are just part of the things that she can count as her main achievements. Nadine Umutoni, welcome with your presentation on harnessing the potential of African culinary arts, gastronomy, and food services industry through standardization, effective industry certification systems, opportunities, challenges, and also standardization initiatives. Welcome, Nadine.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Mr. Philip. Let me add my presentation. I'm sharing it. I'm not sure if you can see it. Can you see it, Dan?
We confirm we can see your screen. Just put it on full slide share mode.
Slide share. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. As Dan has just, thank you, Dan. As Dan has introduced myself, my name is Nadine Umutoni. I work as a project coordinator at ARSO. And first of all, before starting my presentation, I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to be given this opportunity once again to make a presentation on this interesting topic. On the culinary arts, African culinary arts, gastronomy and food service industry, how it is harnessed through standardization and effective industry certification systems. I will talk about opportunities, challenges, and also initiatives. Actually, because we have experts in the sector here, I will focus more on the ASO initiatives briefly, leaving the space to our experts to give us more insight. So starting by the introduction to ASO, ASO was founded in 1977 by the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa and the Organization of African Unity, which is currently African Union. And that was in Accra, Ghana. By that time, our founding members were 21. I have just put a picture of the conference that was held in that particular period, and an extract of the signatures of our founding fathers. So this is just one extract of 6 members, but we have 6 founding members. You can get them from the ASO website. Furthermore, ASO is established in Kenya. The headquarters of ASO are in Kenya. And this picture of the Kenyan government representative signing with the Secretary General of ASO in 1980. And currently, we have 44 members, among them 43 member states, African Union member states, and 1 observer member, which is Zanzibar. As you can see, we have other 12 African Union member states that are not ASO members. This is justified because joining ASO is voluntary, but further to the current development of the African Continental Free Trade Area, members will feel obliged to join ASO to benefit more from ASO products and services. Now, how is ASO aligned with continental initiatives? As I said, ASO was founded by the African Union. By then was the African Organization of African Unity. So ASO has a mandate to always align to continental initiatives in what we do in standard harmonization and conformity assessment as our mandate. The first thing, we are aligned to the objectives of the African Continental Free Trade Area. And by aligning ourselves to this, we always have to give responses and solutions to state parties so that they can trade among them. The responses include the standards that will allow them to move their goods from a point to another. We also align our work to the objectives of the Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program, which is the CADEP, and the Accelerated Industrial Development of Africa. We align again our work to the Boosting Intra-African Trade and the Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa, and again to the African Agribusiness and Agro-Industry Development Initiatives. All these are initiatives that countries, our members are responding to, and always annually, on annual basis, have to show how they are responding to the indicators of these programs. That's why ASO is keen on aligning our work to the objectives. Now, briefly on the status of the African culinary arts and gastronomy and food service industry. I've just talked about the role of this sector in Africa's economy and also the challenges. And I will again talk about the opportunities. What we have here, we have seen the role of this sector on four key pillars of the economy. On tourism, we have seen that the UN tourism data have indicated that international tourist arrivals in Africa grew by 8% in 2025, with 81 million visitors, and 81% of these 81 million per year consider local cuisine as a major factor in choosing their destination, which they call a favor-first traveler. And on the second point on the tourism, this sector, the gastronomy accounts for over 20% of global tourism spending. That is the gastronomy alone. And in Africa, this increasingly directed towards authentic local experiences, like, for instance, Niger Food Festival we find in Nigeria, and the Afro Gastro Festival we find in Ghana. The third under the tourism, it's culinary diplomacy, where this has become an official state tool. Countries like, for instance, as we find in the UN tourism, countries like Tanzania, Morocco, and Zimbabwe have integrated gastronomy into their national development agendas to diversify beyond traditional tourism. Going to the cultural identity, the gastronomy helps a lot. This we can see the indigenous preservation. The data that we found on the FAO and SADC, for instance, the use of native crops such as fonio and teff or cassava as an example in professional culinary arts to safeguard biodiversity and cultural history. So this is one of them. And we also have some countries that have joined UNESCO, for instance, to create, to establish creative cities of gastronomy. This is to preserve the cultural identity. And we have also seen that in 2026, this year, hospitality providers are adapting to meet the demand for multi-sensory journeys that allows the travelers to eat like a native. This is just to make sure that our cultural or indigenous food is recognized. The third, on economic development, we have seen that gastronomy is a multiplier effect because because we have seen that the contribution of this gastronomy to the country budget is high. There are some examples such as Morocco and Egypt. These are just a few that their revenues have increased due to the gastronomy sector by 19% in Morocco and 17% in Egypt. This also is an agricultural stimulus where some dollars generated from the gastronomy have been multiplied abroad once the service is taken abroad or across the borders. And now on the employment, we've seen that actually we have a big number of people in Africa that are involved in agri-food systems. These are maybe non-agricultural sector, such as processing, and also the gender empowerment, because a big number of women are involved in the culinary arts. They are involved in some eateries, small businesses. And again, we see that there is some gaps in skills, but there is also a way of training to improve the skills in the gastronomy. We have some challenges. We have challenges related to inconsistent food safety practices. We have others related to lack of standardized recipes and processes. Mr. Philip has talked about this. And we have other challenges related to limited documentation of indigenous food knowledge. And we have others on inadequate training of personnel, and also others which are very high on the demonstration of quality compliance, specifically on SME side, and even at the conformity assessment body side. Now we have some opportunities to develop the sector. We have the global recognition. Once this is through standardization, once the standards are applied, we will have a common language of the African and indigenous recipes and food and the gastronomy sector in general. We have the opportunity to access the market through the AFCFTA platform. Once the standards are published, adopted, and implemented, there is an opportunity to enter into mutual recognition agreements and hence go into free movement of goods. We have also the gastronomy tourism. We have seen that countries in Africa are keen or are eager to improve this particular point. And we also have the formalization of informal sector, where the small businesses, small eateries, small restaurants, and others are now able to access affordable certification paths. I will talk about the opportunities that are available at ASO and some skills development, such as training and other learning institutions, as we will hear maybe from our colleagues here from the institutions. We have again the industrialization of indigenous ingredients that are giving us ready-to-use products. We have at ASO standardized some of these products, such as the fermented cassava flour, teff flour, and others. Now, the ASO contribution in this development of the culinary and culinary arts and gastronomy. We have a harmonized standard. We have harmonized standards, and also have so far harmonized to above beyond 2,500 standards, and yet we are in the journey of adding more. We have 15 sectors and other specialized committees. And in this sector where the gastronomy falls, it falls under the agriculture and food products, where we have 629 standards harmonized, among them 318 food products. I'm sorry. These are available standards that are published, and they are available for the member states to adopt free of charge. Now we have the project at ASO that focuses on the culinary arts and gastronomy, and it is a collaboration between ASO and the Flexing Bank. We started this project in 2025, and it is ending after 4 years in 2028. We have 4 components of this project. We have a technical committee meetings, and this is under the harmonization of standards component. We have also another component on auditing and certification. This component 2. Component 3, we focus on conducting studies and knowledge development that will inform the need for standard. And we have the 4th component, which is the capacity building for entrepreneurs and the regulators. On the standard development or standard harmonization, we have 5 technical committees that are involved in this. But before moving to these 4, I forgot to mention that under the 15 sectors, we have 100 technical committees working under those or spread across those 15 sectors. Under the food and agriculture products, we have 26 technical committees that are involved. And among them, those 5 are part of this particular project of 4 years we have with a Flexing Bank. So we have the technical committee on spices, culinary herbs, and condiments. This is a TC that is led by Uganda. Every TC has a leadership, a chairperson, and a secretary. And it has 15 members that are participating. And these 15 members are represented by their experts involved in the sectors. We have those from restaurants, we have those from learning institutions and culinary arts. We have also regulators in the sector. We have another TC which is involved. This is TC on 10 on hygiene. This TC is led by Kenya. We have the chair who will also talk during this meeting, and it has the same members as the TC 09. We have another TC on TC 15 on nutrition and foods for special dietary uses, which is led by Nigeria. It has 16 member states. And we have another TC 18 on alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages, which is led by Tanzania. It has 14 member states. And the last TC in the project is TC 88, which is on African culinary arts, gastronomy, and food service industry. This is led also by Kenya. It has 13 member states. We have, in total, member states that are participating in this project are 18. 18 members. That is the total of the members that participate in the entire project combined. Now that is the on standard harmonization. I didn't talk about the work items, the topics that are being covered under each project because of time, but each TC has set a number of items that are of interest of the continental stakeholders in the sector. And these TC are in the process of discussion. They have even sent out for national consultation some items that members should now build a national position and then send them back to these TC secretariats. So we are working. We have some insight on this particular TC 88 today because this is the topic of the day. We have the second component is on auditing and certification, but auditing and certification is supported by some other documents that are not talked about sometimes. There are documents that are helping stakeholders at each level, farmers, operators, restaurant chef, that to implement the standards. You know, the standards language is very technical, and it's always good for us to simplify that language for non-technical people to understand them. So we have 4 categories of materials that we develop. I've mentioned the value addition modules, which give us a possible list of products that can come from a product. And we have a good practice outreach materials. These are very simple in words documents, which provide some visual tools to facilitate non-technical to understand the requirements of the standards. There are technical training materials. Training materials that now are used to train the set of stakeholders to be able to implement the standards. The conformity assessment documents, these are the documents that help give step-by-step instructions and guidelines on how to get certification against any scheme. On conformity assessment, that is supporting this component, also has a committee, also conformity assessment committee, which has developed or has established a national conformity assessment program. And this conformity assessment program called ACAP has 3 major documents. These are requirements that now that assist conformity assessment bodies and also operators to get certification and to be involved in certification. We have the first requirement, which is the first document, which gives general requirements for certification system. The second provides requirements, specific requirements for the certification system. The first was general requirement, the second is specific. Then the third one is requirements for approval of certification bodies, because in a certification body to participate, it needs to comply with some requirements and get approval. So also has two marks, this backup. We also also mark the EcoMark Africa. The ISO mark is given to a product that fulfills or that complies with an adopted ISO standards, product standards. And also EcoMark Africa is awarded to a product that complies with an African voluntary sustainability standards. we have now, this slide talks about how the ACAP, this conformity assessment program, is recognized. So we always look at how we align with international best practice, but this ACAP documentation, the 3 documents that you have seen, are based on the ISO IEC conformity assessment documents, family standards. These are the 17,000 families, especially the 17,065, 17,061, and others. Apart from that, basing our documents to international standards, we also gained recognition by the regional institutions. We have signed, according to the ACAP provisions, we also need to enter into memorandum of understanding with accreditation bodies, so that these accreditation bodies that are AFRAC MRA signatories can be able to accredit certification bodies and laboratories, other conformity assessment bodies to work under ACAP. So ASO so far has signed MOUs with 5 accreditation bodies. You can see that we have signed with 3 regional accreditation bodies. This is the SADCAS, the SADC Accreditation Service. This is the West African Accreditation Services. And we have the Nigerian Accreditation Service, the KENAS, which is the Kenyan Accreditation Service, and the EJAC, which is the Egypt Accreditation Service. We are in the process of mobilizing others so that at least the cost of assessment is reduced. Once we have many actors in the accreditation that have incorporated ACAP, we reduce now the cost of the CBs to get accreditation of the ACAP schemes. We have some CB now, CBs, certification bodies that have been accredited by one or two, or one of the highlighted accreditation bodies. We have KEBS, we have ZABS, Zambia Bureau of Standards. We have ANOR, which is the Agence de Normes de la Qualité of Cameroon. We also have Standard Association of Zimbabwe. These are the ones that have already been accredited to provide the ECOMAC certification. Now we have others that are in the process of being engaged in the ASO ACAP, in the ASO Conformity Assessment Program. This is the list. We have again now certified firms. I started by accreditation, then certification, then firms that have gained certification. We have supported, ASO has supported a number of SMEs to get certification. On the ECOMAC, we have 16 SMEs that are certified against the African voluntary sustainability standard that's adopted. But there is a condition to get this mark. A product must comply with the specific product standards. This is a prerequisite. For instance, if an SME has applied to get sustainability, to get ECOMAC for the soya, complying with the sustainable soya sustainability standards, the product must first of all comply with the product standard on soya specification, then get the ECOMAC. On this, we have again other SMEs that are in the process to get the ECOMAC. This is the support provided by ASO. There is one in Malawi, Kenya, we have 5, and in Uganda we have 1. We have other SMEs that now were certified against the ASO mark. You remember that I highlighted that we have 2 marks. The one against the sustainability standard. And this one, the ASO mark, is given to a product that is complying with an adopted ASO product standard. And we have launched on 6th March this label, this ASO mark. And in the launch, we have certified together with the Rwanda Standard Board. We have given the 78 products that are from 32 SMEs this ASO mark. And there are other products and SMEs that have expressed interest to get support. We have a good number of 80 products still in the process to be supported. Sorry. Then now on this, I want to just highlight that ASO is calling its members to come and join the initiative. As I said, we have sorry. As I said, we have 44 member states, but you have seen that the members that are participating in this culinary and gastronomy are only 18. Yes, of course, joining a sector, a country must be having interest. Sorry, I'm coughing. It's voluntary to join a sector in standard harmonization, meaning the country is trading in that particular sector. That's why maybe we don't have all the total number of our members, but we still mobilize other members to join this particular project in harmonization and certification. So,
Nadine, thank you very much, and we're really sorry for the cough. You've answered many of our questions that we had. You've talked about the GPOM, the good practice outreach materials, training modules being developed at ASO, value addition modules, conformity assessment policies and instructions, an issue of CBs participating in the ACAP. And we would like to thank you for that, and also just again come in and indicate that we appreciate the support from Afreximbank. They financed the project on culinary arts, gastronomy, and food service industries. Allow me, Nadine, and thank you very much for your elaborate presentation that answered the questions, for us to move to the next panelist, who is Professor George Abong from the University of Nairobi, who also sums up. He's an associate professor in the Department of Food Science, Nutrition, Technology at the University of Nairobi in Nairobi, Kenya. Prof. George is a food systems and nutrition expert with extensive experience at the intersection of research, higher education, public health, and food policy in Africa. George is an associate professor in the Department of Food Science, Nutrition, Technology at the University of Nairobi, with recognized expertise in food safety, quality assurance, nutrition, and risk analysis. His research addresses critical challenges in African food systems, including food composition, dietary exposure, aflatoxin contamination, and industrial produced trans fatty acids. He has led and contributed to multidisciplinary research that informs food standards, regulatory frameworks, and consumer protection. Allow me to welcome George, who holds a BSc, Master's, and PhD in Food Science and Technology from the University of Nairobi, and has also received professional training in food safety from Goethe University in Belgium. Professor George will be giving us a presentation on the status of African culinary arts, gastronomy, and food industry, and the need for effective policy and regulatory frameworks that address the needs for informal food distribution sectors and food industry in Africa. Welcome, Professor George.
Thank you, Dan. Just let me know if you can hear me, and good afternoon.
We can hear you perfectly.
Great. Good afternoon, colleagues. Welcome to this short overview. Let me try to share the screen if it will come. Am I enabled, Dan? Dan?
Yes, please proceed.
Okay.
You can have it on slide. Okay, thank you. Proceed. Thank you.
It should come on slide. So I think the topic that I am to do is already pretty much covered by Nadine in her initial presentations. But colleagues, from this slide, you can be able to recognize the different types of food, and most probably you may tell from which part of the continent you can be able to find roasted maize, and on the other side, the great foods you will be able to find as traditional or important foods in different sectors on the other side. So that is, I'm giving an overview, so I will not take much time. So let me just indicate a few issues. Culinary arts, of course, we have different definitions, but in my view, we are looking at professional cooking and presentation of food. And gastronomy is the study of food and culture. So where culture intersects with what we eat. And then food service industry mainly looks at how preparation of the same food is done outside the home state. And believe me, these are very simplistic way of definitions. The informal sector, which of course carries major parts of over 60% of this industry, mainly includes the small scale vendors, not necessarily under formal control. And we shall be able to have a few engagements on these. So let's look at the outlook. I think Nadine has given some information, but I just wanted to bring some facts based on what is available. That the market size is 75 billions. And this size, if you look at this graph, the African food service market growth is linear, and it is not yet going down because our growth rate or birth rate in terms of population is quite high. And so we expect this trend to continue at least until past the 2030. And the projected growth then is somewhere in the tune of 102.4 billion USD by 2031. And that gives you a very good growth, which is projected. And the fast growth, which we can see, is mainly driven by urbanization. And if you come from the African setup, you will realize that the strain that urban centers are getting is because people are moving into the urban centers. In Kenyan context, it is even going to be more astronomical because we adopted what we call counties, and the counties are developing quite fast. And then that urbanization can continue to bring this growth fact. And as a matter of fact, the informal sector dominates the African food service market because they constitute at least 60%. And this is the outlook. And so if you look at the potential in terms of trade, and then you will see that the World Bank 2024 projects or indicated that the informal sector is 68% of this market in terms of the market structure. So that leaves something like formal being only 32. But the actual linkage, and from the World Bank report, is that this market segment really links the agriculture, tourism, and manufacturing so closely and supports employment and trade, urbanization being the driving demand in this, as I have already indicated. So what are the key food safety challenges? Nadine has already alluded to them, so I will not take much of your time, but if you look at the WHO, the 2015 report, we are yet to get any other new report for the world, as it were. 1 out of 10 usually fall sick annually when engaged in matters of food illnesses. These statistics may have changed slightly, but these are the results that we have that we can quote. And that what that portends is that if you are in a group of more than 10, then 1 out of 10 is postulated to fall sick. That is because of food safety issues. And the highest burden has always been indicated to be in Africa, even though Africa is not only the only home for developing countries. Asia, the same, but Africa has got the highest burden. As a matter of fact, if you look at that report, it indicates that a third of the cases and issues of food safety are actually related to African setup. And some of the challenges that we have is the poor hygiene and infrastructure. So infrastructure is largely lacking. And if you can relate this to the informality of the sector that we have in terms of structural setup, then you can also relate it back to the 68% being informal. The other issue that we see in this sector is the weak enforcement of the systems, and especially the food safety systems, which is being encouraged by a number of things. Some could be lack of knowledge, but others is because of this, the systems require structural setup, and some require some kind of investment in order for that to happen. But because we are largely informal, then the largely informal group may not be able to invest in that end. And that's why we can see that weak enforcement. It is related to a number of things. And I think what has also been mentioned is that there are limited specific standards and recipes. At the moment, most of them use general standards, and that could be helpful. But it could be helpful to have more standard recipes that can guide so that you have a standard kind of setup if you're talking of the same food. And the other, of course, the other gap is knowledge and skills that still remains to be important in this sector. And so in my last last presentation slide, most probably, is how do we then look at the landscape for policy and regulatory needs of this sector? In my view, then we need to check and see how do we develop contextualized standards and recipes. There is quite a good move already to this end with the technical committee, and we are seeing that we are moving in the right direction. So this is part of what we are doing at the moment. And of course, we need to harmonize African standards so that when we talk of a certain food in part of Africa, it can actually be a standard food across. And the other issue, in my view, is that we need to adopt existing codex texts which can be able to support this sector. And of course, not forgetting there are other texts like ISO, and the concept of HACCP remains to be an important concept. And so we have a challenge on how do we integrate this in the in the sector, and especially where most of them are informal. And in order to do that, I propose that we need to see how to integrate informal sector, and if possible, do a formalization or inclusion of the informal sector in the mainstream sector. To do that, it is going to take time. It is going to take a lot of effort, but I believe with a concerted effort and with the will, it is possible. Having seen and even noted the different certifications that exist in the world, even if you want to do a certification, system certification of the different aspects of processing and cooking, we still need to see how do we bring the cost down. I'm glad that ARSO is talking about bringing the cost down, because this remains to be a bottleneck in many aspects when it comes to food safety management systems. And the last one is, I would propose that we strengthen training and related systems in order for us to have people with the know-how and knowledge, so that we bridge the gap in terms of skills and knowledge. Thank you very much. I will be glad to hear from colleagues in this meeting as we proceed. Over to you.
Thank you very much, George, for your presentation. We note that we need to increase or reduce the 68% informal trade in food items to increase maybe even to 30% or even 60%. And also note the challenges with regards to hygiene, which can be addressed through the standards. Infrastructure, we've seen this will be addressed through the standards, and also weak enforcement. We also talk about reducing the costs of certification, which is very important, but we also would like to also share about issues of self-declaration of conformity. And also this can be enhanced more through training. So we also encourage you to visit ARSO platforms, which we will also share, that will enhance training on issues of standardization. Allow me to present the next panelist, Lena Mogere from Boma International Hospitality College. She's a visionary culinary leader and award-winning trainer, chef, and brings over a decade of experience in high-performance kitchen operations, food safety systems, and talent development. Renowned for her unique ability to blend technical mastery on hookup and driven precision, she is shaping a new generation of globally competitive culinary professions at the Boma International Hospitality College. She serves as a culinary lead and course coordinator at Boma, a world-class Swiss hotel management college seeking to educate and influence the next generation. Beyond the classroom, Chef Lena remains a vocal advocate for local sourcing, farm-to-table initiatives. At Boma, she remains dedicated to the philosophy that a true chef never stops learning, inspiring students to view the kitchen as both a laboratory for innovation and sanctuary for craft. Lena will be giving us a presentation on capacity building and training in the hospitality industry for effective and qualified human resource for improved quality of service, current trends and curriculum, initiatives in the education system for the African hospitality, culinary arts, gastronomy, and food service industry. Welcome, Lena.
Thank you, Dan. Kindly confirm you can hear me from your end. And good afternoon, colleagues.
We confirm that we can hear you. Raise your voice and then you can proceed. Thank you.
So is it better? Better now?
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, the ARSO team. Thank you, colleagues, for this invite to serve as a panelist for this very interesting topic that for me, I say it is heartfelt because I'm a passionate chef, as Dan has just explained. And briefly through the chair, just allow me to briefly introduce what BIC is and what BIC does. So the Boma International Hospitality College is
Lena,
a private TVET
sorry for this.
institution.
Please share your screen. Share your presentation.
Apologies for that. I was just giving a brief overview before I start my presentation. So again, I'll go back. The Boma International Hospitality College is a private TVET institution based in Nairobi, South Sea. And it was established in 2015 by the Kenya Red Cross Society. And we are happy and glad to report that we have enrolled students from various African nationalities, ranging from Uganda, Tanzania, Nigeria, South Africa, and many more African countries. Briefly, just want to run through the academic programs that we offer at Boma. One is we have the certificate programs and we have the diploma programs. And mainly for the diploma programs, there's the diploma in culinary arts that takes 2 years. Then we have the certificate in culinary arts taking 1 year. We also have a diploma in international hospitality management, which is also 2 years. Then we also have a certificate in international hospitality management that takes 1 year. So apart from that, again, very briefly, we do short courses in baking and patisserie. We also have a diploma course in baking and patisserie. We also do events management programs. And we also offer professional development courses. And which are these courses I'm talking about? We have the events management, we have culinary operations, and we have hospitality operations. Why do I call them professional development courses? And you find the industry at times, they lack formal training. So BIC comes in to offer these programs mainly to the skilled staff outside Boma, who may not be having any kind of formal qualification through also a process we refer to as recognition of prior learning. We also, lastly, we offer languages in our language school. We do French, we do German, we also give Spanish, and we also offer Mandarin courses. With that brief introduction about who we are in BIC, my topic again is about food safety management systems and the culinary arts, gastronomy, and food service industries. My previous colleagues have spoken about much also that I would have loved to share, more so on food safety. But I would like to make an emphasis mainly on the changing skills need in African hospitality. My colleagues have spoken very well concerning the changing African hospitality. And what we need to appreciate is the modern employer today they need professionals who are technically skilled, service-oriented, adaptable, and ready for the real industry demands. And these real industry demands, we are talking about a skilled workforce. We are talking about food entrepreneurs. We are talking about strategic thinkers. We are talking about innovative chefs. And again, we talk about chefs and industry professionals who have the master of technical skills. So then that said and done, capacity building must therefore go beyond theory and focus mainly on preparing people who can deliver the quality service very, very consistently. I must say in BIC or the Boma International Hospitality College, we are more focused on what we refer to as CBET, which is the competent-based educational training, where we are shifting from theoretical to more of hands-on training. And we look at mainly offering more of the practical sessions as opposed to theory. And this model has been embraced across Africa with Kenya, South Africa, Rwanda, and just to mention a few countries that have embraced this kind of model. So what are the growing trends in African training? There's greater focus to practical hands-on learning, which I've just mentioned about competency-based education. And again, we are looking at an emphasis on guest experience and service excellence. I want to briefly speak about the dynamics of the changing guests' needs in terms of guests would want to have more of more guest experiences, more of wellness programs, more of hands-on waitresses and waiters serving with a smile, cooks and chefs, cooking food with passion, skill, sustainability concepts, and so on and so forth. Then there's the rising importance of food safety. Professor Bong has clearly outlaid that factor and quality standards. Then there's a growing appreciation of African cuisine and gastronomy. And in BIC, we offer this African cuisine as a unit, as a standalone unit, more so for the senior class. And briefly, what we do with the senior class in BIC, it is a project, student-led project, that they are supposed to come up with a menu, an African-themed menus. And we task them to research, be innovative, be creative, to craft menus that are suitable for the African palate. And we also look at sustainability processes, sustainability programs, and they plan, they coordinate, and they execute the event every other term. Like for now, for example, students have organized an event this coming Friday based on African themed menus. So the fourth one is about growing appreciation. The fifth one is about increased need for digital and leadership and entrepreneurial skills. So you can see these are the current trends in hospitality now. And which are these increased need for digital skills? We are looking at digital transformation. Speak of AI. I think my colleague spoke about cost reduction. And in BHC, we are proud to incorporate digital components of reducing costs. We have a system software that is calculating recipes in real time. And I think my colleague Nadine spoke about standardization of recipes. And this is actually the current trend now. And AI in food recipe costing is able to calculate the cost and give you real-time food cost in terms of what are the actual ingredients that you have used for that particular dish. So this is what we're embracing in BIC, and again, applying that, especially in the context of African gastronomy. Next, I'm looking at, again, how does that relate into effective and qualified human resource from what we are training in BIC. We must appreciate the fact that hospitality training must be relevant to realities of the industry. And this is why curriculum development is increasingly shifting. I've spoken about competency-based learning that will equip students with practical and measurable skills. Let me speak a bit about curriculums. Again, in BIC, what we do from time to time, we review our curriculums to align with the industry needs. We invite hotel stakeholders, we invite chefs, we invite hotel managers, we invite baristas, we invite event planners, just to come and review our curriculum to see whether they're in line with what the industry needs, and so that at least we are aligning with this trend in the industry. And what is the goal for this? Is to produce graduates who are confident, employable, and ready to perform the duties and the tasks as allocated to them. What are these priorities we look at in BIC? We look at competency-based industry responsive training. More so, we are looking at practical sessions. And in practical sessions, I believe for a chef, putting in more practical hours in terms of hands-on skills, hotel operations, more of the practical units as opposed to theory is a key factor in driving a competent workforce. We also do internships, and in BIC, we are proud to offer internship slots to our students, again, across the African continent. And also, doors have opened for international placements in countries like Spain, in Malaysia, in Singapore, in Dubai, and many more. Again, we prioritize in the curriculum soft skills such as communication. We are looking at teamwork, and we are looking at professionalism. Again, these are the soft skills that are needed for today's industry. We focus on food safety. Professor Bong spoke about food safety. We look at hazard analysis, critical control points, hygiene. We also have a quality assurance department that just keeps a check of all these processes that we perform and do in BIC. Recently, about 5 years ago, we integrated African gastronomy. I mentioned that. And this came as a wake-up call. Just to give a brief history, that the then CS for Education, the late Professor Magoha, graced our occasion, our commencement ceremony here in BIC about 5 years ago during the pandemic period of COVID-19. And he posed a question. And while he was giving his speech, he asked the school, we are focusing more of international and European cuisines. Are we integrating the aspect of African cuisine in our curriculums? And that was a wake-up call. And BIC took up that very, very positively. And we are glad and happy to say that we have integrated that into our curriculum for culinary arts. And this is offered in the second year of learning for the senior class in BIC, and a unit that has been appreciated by students, being the fact that African cuisine has evolved and is rapidly being appreciated across the globe. Then I've spoken about continuous curriculum review to match industry trends. That I will not repeat. Then again, education initiatives and the way forward. Strengthening hospitality education through relevance and partnerships. And we've had in BIC proud to have partners driving this initiative. And we have partners, we have partnered with educational institutions such as Strathmore, where again, our students can have a chance again to take their education to another level. For example, for hospitality management courses, once the diploma is done from BIC, then they can progress to colleges and universities such as Strathmore University, USIU Africa. But the main challenge, ladies and gentlemen, again remains, what of this culinary student who has completed successfully their diploma course or their certificate course in culinary arts? Where do they go? Can they further again advance in Kenya locally? And that is the main challenge we have in Kenya mostly, and most of the African countries. And in BIC, what we have opened the doors again to our culinary students, again progressing further to BHMS in Switzerland, where they offer a one-year degree course in culinary arts, where again they are able to advance to the next level. So again, in conclusion, improving service quality in the hospitality sector begins with a stronger education system, and institutions must work with the industry, must work with regulators and partners to ensure training remains practical, valid, current, and impactful. And at BHC, this professional training, hands-on exposure, and industry engagement prepares this talent for the next future leaders. So that said and done, thank you very much for listening to my short presentation. Because of time, I will not say much. I will take it back to you, Dan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lena, for your detailed presentation. I would just like to have one question to you. How far have you integrated food safety management systems in your education systems for African hospitality, culinary arts, gastronomy, and food service industry? And what are the challenges in incorporating it, if any, was experienced?
Thank you very much, Dan. In BIC, we take food safety very, very seriously. And we have a hazard analysis critical control point plan where we record every other step in our food processing, leave alone the food processing, right from farm to fork. How do we receive these food items? How are they received? How are they stored? Are they stored at the correct temperatures? Do we have monitoring procedures? How do we monitor our storage facilities? How do we cook our food? Do we cook them to the correct temperatures? For example, do we expose our food to danger zone? So we have all these processes and documentation and verification procedures that we store and keep. And once audits come, we present them for purposes of audit. So yes, Dan, in BIC, we have a food safety management program that we take very, very seriously. Part 2 of the question, you asked about the challenges that we face as a food safety, for food safety management. Yes, I cannot say that we are 100% okay. There could be challenges, yes. One are storage facilities, but in BIC, we are proud to have large walk-in freezers and chillers, temperature probes, food holding equipment, and so on and so forth. But again, colleagues, we would again agree with me that not all colleges, again, and institutions have this kind of equipment that enable them to have a foolproof food safety management system. So yes, this is just equipment, again, in terms of training of competent staff, in terms of food safety is also a major challenge. Thank you, Dan. Back to you.
Thank you. Just one last question. Have you incorporated HACCP and ISO 22000 into your education curriculum? Do you teach students about it?
Yes, Dan, we do. We incorporated, we incorporate rather hazard analysis, critical control points in our training, in all aspects of practical training. And we start this right from year 1. When they join in, they come in, there's a topic and unit on hazard analysis all through the term. And this, we emphasize that our students take that up all the way through their second year. We are in the process of training for ISO 22000 quality food safety. And very soon, BIC is going to be a certified center for training, the ISO 22000. Back to you, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lena, for your detailed presentation. We now understand the current trends and the curriculum being provided. I would like to quickly introduce our next panelist, Hakim Mfumbiro, who is the Manager Certification Department, Head Food Agricultural Standards Division at the UNBS, and also the former chair of the Codex FAO. We also would like to welcome Hakim, the Acting Manager Certification at the UNBS, where he's responsible for providing leadership and developing strategies to support product and system certification, as well as ensuring MSMEs are able to implement standards through targeted training and advocacy. Mr. Hakim has 20 years experience in key areas in quality infrastructure, standards and conformity assessment, including industrial development, trade competitiveness in global markets, and food safety. His key competencies include policy formulation, legislation, standardization, food, nutrition safety, quality management, food control systems development and implementation, product regulation, and market access, including organizational leadership, project planning, and management. He also served as the chairperson of the ARSO Standards Management Committee, coordinator at the EAC Codex Forum, and he's also served in the board of Global Food Regulatory Science Society. He's a preventive controls qualified individual for human food and also holds a bachelor and master's of science in food science and technology from Culinary University, Kampala, Uganda. Hakim, welcome and provide your presentation. Thank you. Hakim, you can unmute and speak to us. Thank you. As we wait for Hakim to present, we ask you to share any questions in the chat box. Immediately after this, we can be able to engage. We can see on the chat box, we had a question towards how we can achieve a bachelor's degree from having the course at BI the Boma International Hospitality College. We also have several questions which was sent on the chat box. I request that some of the panelists can respond to them directly. If we have time before the end of this session, we can be able to just ask the panelists to respond. Thank you, Hakim. You can proceed. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dan. Unfortunately, the way IT works, whereas I've been listening in for the last 1.5 hours, the internet got cut as I was trying to come on. But I hope you'll be able to bear with me, as well as the colleagues attending this webinar. Unfortunately, I'm not in the best of places, so kindly bear with me for the next 5 or 10 minutes. Because I'll try to focus on providing probably additional concepts to help with this particular session. So I will talk about some of the approaches of how the implementation of food safety management systems would be important in the food supply chain. I have a short presentation that majorly focuses on the overall global context, the relevance of food safety management systems and food supply chain. I'll provide some insights on trends and opportunities and a takeaway. So to provide the context, and this is the context for the African region, I believe Professor Bong as well touched about this point on the global burden of foodborne diseases, where Africa is disproportionately affected, considering that 1/3 of the global death toll for foodborne diseases is actually in Africa. And most of these foodborne diseases are related to probably the way we handle, prepare, present the food that we consume on a daily basis. Whereas the situation may seem to be bleak, or may not be seeming to be
Sorry, Hakim, we've lost your network. We will request that you switch off your video and just present without the video. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll probably run very fast as I still have the network supporting as much as possible. So probably let me run quickly through the slides such that we spare time to maybe have the exchange. So as I was still presenting, the main relevance of food safety management systems relates, of course, to from production to consumption. And of course, if we look at the broader scheme of things, those who are either implement food safety management.
Kim, we are really sorry we cannot effectively hear you well. Please, if you don't mind, you can share with us the presentation. Hakim, you can share it even in the chat box, and then we can be able to share it for you. This will save your bandwidth. Just confirm you can hear us, Hakim. Hakim?
Last day.
Hakim, you can share the presentation with us. It will save your bandwidth. Then we can share it from the Afro Central Secretariat side. You can share it on the chat box. For Zoom,
let me do that.
To be faster. Thank you.
Let me do
and
that.
We're really sorry for
if
this.
That will help.
Okay.
Okay, let me see if that would help. I think everyone has the presentation in the chat. There are a few slides, so if not sharing from here will help, they can be displayed on the screen, and I'll run through very fast. And once again, sorry for that. There's nothing that I could have done.
Hakim, we can confirm we've not received it yet. If you don't mind, you can check if it has already sent.
Yes, it has. At least from the chat,
Okay,
I see.
Okay, maybe I do not know if any other expert has seen it. Maybe you can just continue with the presentation as we verbal.
Yeah.
Then we can share the presentation. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So the point I was trying to make related to the relevance of food safety management systems, and whereas we have a number of opportunities that exist in this particular area, there are typical things that food supply chain should actually be able to benefit from implementation of food safety management systems, and ultimately this would help not only the consumers in building the trust and the confidence, but as well as everyone who is involved in the in the value chain. I think it's ready on in the chat, but I'll just continue. Probably it will find me along the way. So additionally, after that, I will also touch on elements that to deal with why food safety matters, and I've provided the African context that relates with the trade-related aspects of food safety, most especially aspects that deal with SPS compliance, as the food trade keeps growing in the continent. But I've also reflected the relevance of ISO and Codex aligned systems to reduce rejections and boost competitiveness, and as well reflecting on the ability for some of these systems to be robust enough to support these ongoing efforts in the continent. And of course, the main objective is that this ultimately enhances the confidence of the consumers in the continent. In terms of trends, as I get to the last parts of the presentation, I've reflected that, which was a point which was made earlier as well, majority of the food establishments operate informally, and within this particular context, solutions are required that would be useful to provide guidelines that support the establishments of food industries that are in these kinds of setups to be able to apply and implement standards. And one of such efforts has been the recent, for example, Codex guidelines for food hygiene control measures in traditional markets for food, which have customized or provided guidance that is actually very useful for even the small and medium, micro, smaller enterprises that produce the food that we consume. So it's extremely very key to provide the specific tailor-made support for the informal sector to improve systems, as these are the bedrock for most of the food that we consume in the continent. The last point on the trends and opportunities relates with the issue of information, education, and communication, which was, I think, touched on by Nadine earlier on some of the outreach materials, because whereas standards remain technical, including the food safety and management system standards for ISO or the food hygiene standards within Codex, the people who we require them to apply need to actually know exactly what is provided for in this particular technical documents, and the use of information, education, and communication tools is a critical aspect in deepening the application of these particular standards, most especially the food safety management system standards. I think to crown it in terms of a key takeaway, to reflect again that food safety is everyone's responsibility. This is the main mantra within the global food safety environment, that let us all play our roles. So you don't have to wait for the regulator, or you don't have to wait for someone who is actually pushing it to be able to ensure that the food is produced in a hygienic manner and presented safely. The other takeaway that I would indicate is the implementation of regional and international standards for food safety management systems are critical. So whereas the current landscape is that the major focus for most of our industries have majorly been probably commodity standards. So you'd actually have many of them applying commodity standards without having robust systems that actually help to produce products that would stand the test of time. And system standards give you that leverage. So I think the promotion of the implementation of these regional international standards, most especially those based on ISO 22000 or the Codex standards for general standards for food hygiene, would be extremely critical in improving our own systems. Of course, certification systems to ensure that been seeing is that most of the players within the food supply chain look this as the cost rather than change the paradigm. What I think that yeah, so Dan, I know I dropped off, but I think I'd completed the presentation. So
Thank you very much, Hakim, for
the
your
session can continue from there. I'd read
Thank you very much, Hakim. Being the head of certification at the UNBS, what are the main challenges in establishing food management systems for the African informal and food supply chains? And can digitalization solve this challenge? Maybe those are my two questions.
Yeah, so I
Hakim?
think I think the challenges are ingrained in the current perception that we have for these particular management systems. First of all, the perception which I've also highlighted about has been that most of the informal setup or even the regular establishments look at implementation of food safety management systems as a cost rather than as an investment. And if we're able to change that narrative, then would actually be able to have as many as them embrace the systems as much as possible. But additionally, because of the trajectory in terms of growth of some of these informal establishments, I think they need to be handheld in terms of being supported to be able to establish and implement these systems effectively, because management systems require a little bit of much more additional work rather than the normal product certification, which is probably common for most of the systems. And ultimately, the issue of digitalization is extremely very critical. If I use an example of Uganda, this is one of the areas that we actually have been going into, and we're ensuring that digital systems are actually able to support us to be able to ensure that we deepen the certification services and the systems at the national level, and this will actually ultimately help in terms of building much more sustainable and resilient systems that would be useful for even the informal sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You've said that we need to look at it as an investment instead of an expenditure or a cost that cannot be recovered. My next question goes to Prof. George with regards to why does effective government policy and regulatory frameworks, what is the importance with regards to informal food distribution sector and the food industry? Maybe you can just give an example or even one or two of the policies that have been able to help with regards to government policies and regulatory frameworks created within the African continent to just regulate or even enhance and reduce the challenges in the informal food distribution sector. George, to you.
Thank you, Dan. I think there are various forms of policies and frameworks across the different states and, of course, the world, and then come to Africa, because Africa is now our business. But the key ones could be national food safety policies, and the different countries would have different aspects. The Kenyan scenario, we are still working on this, but that is one policy that is very crucial at any point. Number two is that knowing that our systems and most of the people involved in this business are informal. The Codex Text plus other policies that regulate street food as a regulatory framework is critical in terms of licensing and training and provision of designated vending zones, which I know some countries have already designated in Africa. And the other aspects that I could also speak to is the regional standards harmonization led by ARSO. These will promote, of course, common standards across the African region, and not forgetting the adoption of Codex Tex plus ISO-based food safety systems. And the last, in my view, is capacity building policies. And these include investment in training institutions. If you are in our part of country, you will realize that there is a deliberate effort for TVET training and other types of training which are geared towards food safety. Thank you, Dan. Dan, you got me?
Thank you very much, George, for your... We have one person called Eric who wanted to give his ask a question, and their hand was raised. Is Eric still there? We might allow you to ask the question, Eric. Yes, please. Maybe you can ask the question. This was, I think, during Prof. George's presentation. Proceed.
Yes, absolutely. There is a very quick velocity of change in the global benchmarks standards for food safety. And I would like to know what is happening with regards to also bringing this on board with the benchmarks at ARSO. Because even ISO 9001, which is also relevant food safety, we are in the final stages of getting a 2026 version. Do we get this also in the ARSO benchmarks and in the audit frameworks that we have and that we're implementing in Africa?
Thank you very much, Eric, for your question. Nadine, my colleague, will be responding to this. Nadine?
Thank you, Mr. Dan, and thank you, Eric, for asking the question. I'm not sure if I got it well, but the key issue I got is that how ASO tries to benchmark with the international standard organization or standard setting organizations such as ISO. Am I correct? If if it is that, what I can say is that as I mentioned in my presentation, ASO is of course a continental and African organization for standard harmonization and conformity assessment, but ASO being an observer member of the World Trade Organization, we also have a mandate to always consider international standard to facilitate our stakeholders, our industries to trade with, yes, of course, Africa, but also with the rest of the world. And in this, I can also mention that in the African, as part of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, we have Annex 6, which is on technical barriers to trade. And Annex 6 stipulate that as all the African members should aim at implementing international standards, and where international standards are not available, ask ASO to develop necessary standards. That's why ASO, when it comes to standard development and harmonization, we look first, and this is an exercise that the technical committee does, the committees do. They first of all look on what is existing at international level. Let's say when there is a need for a standards, they first of all look if there is an existing standard at international level that can be suitable for the African context. And when that standard exists, the priority will be now to assess if all the requirements of that standards can be applied in Africa. And in most of the cases, we adopt those standards, mostly not only ISO, but we also have Codex. We also have other international standards that we look at during standardization for different sectors. So that gives us gives the ASO standards or the African standards the power to facilitate African industries to be competitive once they are compliant. I have to mention that ASO and ISO have also signed an agreement in October during the ISO general meeting. We signed a historical agreement, what we call Kigali Agreement, which we now allow ASO and ISO to cooperate in standard harmonization, having some joint project because we share members, and there's no need of now having different or diverging standards where we all work toward the same objective. So we are now in the current status of that agreement is that we are establishing all the rules on how we will be now working together to assist all our members to adopt the common standards. So ASO is always there to look at what we have at international level, because we don't want to close ourselves in one continent. We want the continent to be competitive, to be together with the rest of the world on the same market. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Nadine. Allow me now to hand over to my colleague, Mr. Philip Okongu, to lead the final session. Thank you.
Mr. Dan, maybe if I can interrupt you, there is another question which is asked on how to join the ASO technical committees. Maybe it's just a single sentence, is that as per the principles of standardization, participating is open to everyone. But for ASO, I think what we can advise is to work with the national standard bodies, because ASO, as the secretariat, we are not able to identify a participant. If you are based in any of the ASO members, you can access maybe the NS-based platforms, or join them, or approach them in their offices, then they can guide you on how to join. But if you are a multinational or any other stakeholder, you can also reach us through our emails that were provided, then we can guide you on how to join. I think that is my response. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nadine, with regards to responding to how Okongu.
Also, can you confirm my?
We can see your screen and we can hear you speaking. Please proceed. Thank you.
Sorry for that. Thank you very much, Mr. Dan, and I want to thank you for guiding the plenary session. Thank you also for the participants, the delegates, the panelists, for those very insightful presentations. I just wanted to highlight what we are having currently on the screen, because Eric asked, how do you benchmark at the international level? And I wanted just to bring this to the attention of our audience, that the quality infrastructure, as it is known, which has become very important within the modern economies, highlights from the national level. As you can see, somebody said, sorry, it's not here, but he said, quality infrastructure is not everything, but everything without quality infrastructure is nothing. So the quality infrastructure components are about metrology, about accreditation, about standardization, and the conformance systems. For the standardization, you see, we start from the national level, we go to the regional level, the EAC, the SADC, and that, then the continental level, and then ISO. Under ISO, we will realize that ISO standards, standardization process are also based on ISO IC guidelines for standards development, Guide 1, Part 1, 2, and Guide 25, 1 and 2 in terms of standards development and adoption. So we really benchmark. My colleague has talked of the agreement that we signed recently, which is almost equivalent to ISO IEC Vienna 1991 agreement that now also allows the European standardization systems to benchmark with the international standard systems. So you will realize that in all of these, accreditation body starts at the international level, goes up at the African level, we have the AFRAC. International level, we benchmark here. And then for metrology, national level, then AfriMets at the African level, and then we have OML and BIP for international benchmarking, so that what we do is not out of the ordinary. It must just fall within. And mostly, our Bible in the quality infrastructure is the World Trade Organization Technical Barriers to Trade, or SPS, agreements, which give the principles of standardization and adoption and all that. That is what I wanted to highlight as for that question that arose. So whatever we start, we work, in Kenya we say the ground. We work from the ground until the international level, so that all the standardization activities that we do have got are benchmarked, are trusted, and are predictable. Thank you very much for that. Sorry. This is what I should have done earlier, but you can see it very well. It will also be shared. So thank you very much for the webinar today. The impact, I think, speaks by itself. And we look forward to having effective culinary arts gastronomy curriculum for the food service industry, because at the end of the day, teach an African who is fit for the 21st century challenges. And you realize that tourism, gastronomy, culinary is a cornerstone in African economic development. And Lena talked about bachelor's degree in curriculum, mainstreaming this in our education systems. So we are looking forward to having that as an impact, because we realize that we really need to have government policies. We really need to have strong capacity building, training, and we also need to have food management systems integrated in our curriculum, so that even when we have the informal sectors, I normally walk in the streets of Nairobi, and so many times tempted to taste or to have a bite of the eggs, to have a bite of the samosas that are sold. And you see, we normally now have professionals within the streets. Sometimes you get them dressed in the chef's uniform. And I think that is what we encourage, so that the foodborne diseases that we are talking about, and which have been highlighted in most of the presentations, don't occur, because foodborne disease, when it occurs, it is a burden to the economy, it is a burden to the society. So training in food management systems. We are still within the food management, and our next webinar is going to be very much, again, good in terms of edible insects for food security and requirement for food management systems, also within the sector, the edible food insect standardization and regulatory framework. That is our next webinar, the 65th session, 22nd April 2026. And we are going to look at the standardization initiatives that are happening at the ARSO level, We are glad to say that we are working with ISIPE in this context, and we have also launched the standards in this respect. And then we need to leverage the potentials of edible insects for food security. And a lot is happening here. I think it is going to be very interesting on how this is rolling out in terms of employment, in terms of economic development, and in terms of food security. The private sector, individual farmers, that's the SMEs we are talking about, and still the need for government and institutional support, policy and advocacy, and then current global trends. So this is our next webinar that we are going to have in April, and I want to just invite you for participation. We will be engaging. And finally, also, ASO is looking forward to having the ASO Week 2026 on 15th to 19th June in Kampala under Standards Enabling Inter-African and Inter-African Trade under FCFTA. One certificate working for you, which means one conformity assessment, one standard, one market. So for the stakeholders who are participating, for the member states who are participating, the dates are 15th to 19th, 2026. The venue is Wamunyonyo Commonwealth Resort. We continue engaging, and we thank the Uganda National Bureau of Standards for facilitating this and for the current ongoing deliberations. Our webinar sessions are aligned until November, and we want to engage you. The main theme is the standards, the role of standardization, which has been currently highlighted within the World Development Report 2025 by the World Bank, that standards remain the center for economic development. In this case now, I want to thank all the panelists. I want to thank all the experts. I want to thank the delegates, and mostly on behalf of our Secretary General, we want to welcome you to another session where we take photos for this webinar session so that it remains memorable that one day we had successful discussions on the African culinary and gastronomy and the need for food safety management. As I also confirmed that, because I saw in the chat box, whether we will be sharing it's called what? We will be sharing the presentations. I want to confirm that we will be sharing the presentations. Thank you very much. And I would want to welcome Mr. Dan to facilitate the photo taking session so that this one makes us have the memory of this day with our great panelists who have highlighted the discussions here. Thank you so much. Mr. Dan, you will tell us if we have good smiles, if the photos are taken, as we thank our panelists for the work well done. And as we realize that the difference between a cook and a chef and the need for this training happening. Thank you so much. Eric, due to time, we'll just allow you to text us. We have taken note. Thank you very much. We don't want to take your time.